Hi everyone, this is a daily market update for dollar yen. Today is Wednesday, October 6th. This video is brought to you by Finteria Markets. Please check our website for more information about the company, services, and tools that we offer. So let's start our analysis with winners and losers. This tool shows you the strongest and the weakest currencies across different timeframes. So over the last 24 hours, the US dollar is the strongest currency. It's gaining 0.4%, while the New Zealand dollar is the weakest. As we can see, the Japanese yen is the second weakest currency so far. However, if we check the previous hour, we can see some risk aversion happening in the markets. So the Japanese yen actually gained 0.22%. The US dollar is slightly behind. We can see all safe haven currencies are gaining more ground at the moment. And risky assets, commodity currencies like New Zealand dollar, Australian dollar, and Canadian dollar are currently falling. So we can use also another tool on the website. It's called FX Risk Aversion. So it will show you how risk averse is the current market. So any values above 80 show a really strong risk aversion. Actually, it's a bit weaker on the daily time frame, but quite strong on the 8 hours, 4 hours, and 1 hour. So how this tool works, it analyzes correlation between safe haven currencies versus risky assets. So you can read more information about this service on the website. So what's the reason of the strong risk aversion? As we can see, stock markets are falling really sharply. We had really negative dynamics on the Asian markets. Like you can see, Korean market fell over almost 2%. Hong Kong, that's the dynamics, well, falling slightly less, but still we see it also in Australia, New Zealand. Well, basically all markets are falling. Japan is falling slightly over 1%. And actually the European markets opened in the same direction. So this is the French index. German index opened much lower. The UK index, also we can see a negative dynamics. So S&P index actually also looks more negative. In the beginning of the European session, it was just indicating that market opening will be around minus 0.5%. Now it's all 1%. So some risk aversion is happening in the markets, and yeah, it's going to be very critical if we're going to break this support level. I think the most important is actually the opening of the markets in the US. So far it's still the tendency on the futures. We see that the European markets are very weak, but all eyes will be specifically on the US market opening, because here we have a really important support level. In case if we break it, then we can actually see a much stronger risk aversion, and safe haven currencies will perform much better. So let's finally return back to the charts. I'm going to show you quickly what's happening on other currency pairs. So right now, due to the risk aversion, the US dollar has some tailwinds. So we see the breakout of 115.60. We can potentially move lower. In my video on Eurodollar, I indicated that this movement can be actually falsy, that we can break and then return back to the levels. It really depends on the level of the risk aversion. So this is something hard to predict. Potentially, we can actually move much lower from the current levels. But I wouldn't exclude a situation that we return back above 1560, because sometimes risk aversion can fade away very quickly. So speaking about the British pound, I mentioned this before, that the pound will be more resilient, and this is what we see. The movement is actually quite strong, but still we can see that it's performing generally much better. It's still far away from the low. Now let's finally return back to the Japanese yen. So the focus of this video is mainly on this currency pair. So recently, this currency was supported by growing yields. I can show you this as well. So the yields were growing generally across all markets. This is the US 10-year yield. Then we have German. Basically, it's across all the markets. We saw a strong increase in the yields. So the Japanese yen has a negative correlation with yields, and that's why we saw that there was a sharp rebound in this currency pair from the levels. And my forecast in the previous videos, if you have seen the video from yesterday, I was indicating that I'm generally very bullish on this currency pair. So I recommend to consider long positions only. However, given the current environment that we see some risk aversion, there are also lots of fears in the markets, lots of concerns about the energy, about supply chain constraints, and usually the Japanese yen can perform even much stronger than the US dollar because it's actually more safe haven currency than the US dollar, and the volatility can increase sharply on the Japanese yen. So here I would actually expect some minor correction, but still the long-term vision is very bullish. So let me draw some scenarios. They will be very similar to what you have seen yesterday in my video. So I would expect, given the current risk aversion, I would expect some correction, but then the currency should move lower. If things will get really nasty in the world, I mean, we have more concerns, a really sharp correction in the market, I can actually expect that it may go slightly lower till 110, and then from those levels it can move much higher. So if we speak about the current trading session, so let's switch to the 4-hour chart. Here I can see a few important levels. One of them is 111.30. You can see multiple attempts to reach this area, and here we have another local support area. So let me draw this one as well. So currently I think that we are remaining within this narrow zone, but potentially if we break the level 111.80, we may move much higher, potentially break even 112. So, however, I think for today's session, given the risk aversion that we see, the potential movement might look like this. Let me draw the lines. So it can actually look something like this, in my opinion. Or alternative scenario would be that it will go much lower and then it will rebound. So that's my view on the dollar yen. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please support our channel by posting a short comment and giving us your likes. Thank you very much for watching, and I wish you a nice day.